Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Check, and I'm a statistician in the Northern Plains Regional Field Office. I'm here today to speak about the June Area Survey, and more specifically, I will speak about the maps and photos we used during June Area. So let's get started. First, we need to define some common terms we will be utilizing during the survey. A segment refers to a defined area of land. The area of the segment is normally about 1 square mile, but may be much larger or smaller depending on the land use. A tract refers to a part of the segment that is operated under a unique operating arrangement. If a farmer is operating as an individual and as a partnership in the same segment, these would need to be two different tracts. Lastly, a field is a continuous area of land that was devoted to a single crop or land use. In general, we would like to discourage the respondent burden needed to draw off fields wherever possible. As always, your regional field office will provide specific guidance. It is still required to draw off all tracts, whether they be PIGA, which is public, industrial, and grazing association land, non-ag, or agricultural. Before contacting any operators, please familiarize yourself with where the segment is located, paying special attention to any identifying landmarks like highways, roads, or other landmarks. That way you'll be better able to convey the segment's location during the interview. Here is an example of a parcel map. Notice the alphanumeric grid system on the edges of the map. Hopefully this will make it easier to converse with the operator and relay location of the specific areas of the segment. The township, range, and section numbers are printed on the top right of each parcel map. If possible, it would be best for respondents to have access to either the paper or electronic copy of this map during the interview to make the process run more smoothly. The survey code needed to access the map on agcounts.usda.gov is printed on the front of the screening packet. Now we'll move on to talk about the larger aerial photos. The segment will be outlined in a thick red line, which is the segment boundary. Every piece of land inside that boundary will need to be accounted for. As you complete your interviews, draw off and label tract letters as needed using the photo pens provided by your regional field office. Under no circumstances are you to use Sharpie permanent markers. Regional offices will provide storage boxes for protecting aerial photos from damage. When assigning tract letters, make sure to capitalize and underline them to avoid confusion. It is absolutely necessary to underline the letters that could be mistaken for one another, like N for Z, M for W, and I and H. But it is a good practice to underline all tract letters. Assign one tract letter for each operator. In the example given, John Jones operates two separate pieces of the segment, but they can both be labeled with the same letter since he is individually operating both. This example is merely for demonstration purposes. We would never write the operators' names or any other personally identifiable information on the aerial photo. Each operating arrangement needs its own tract letter. In this example, Ron Fast is operating both individually and as a manager for Able Farms. Since these are two different operating arrangements, they need two different letters, even though Ron is the contact for both. Thus, Able Farms would be assigned tract C, and Ron's individual operation would be tract B. When in doubt, as always, we would recommend you contact your supervisor, other experienced NASDA enumerators, your NASDA coordinator, and or the regional field office if further clarification is needed. As stated on the last slide, we would never write the operators' names or any other personally identifiable information on the aerial photo. This is merely for illustration purposes only. Moving on to returning segments. If a new operator is found, assign the next unused tract letter. In this case, Bill Riggs is no longer operating. We cannot reuse tract letter B. So Bob White is the new operator and would be tract E. As discussed previously, a separate tract letter must be assigned to each unique ag tract. However, similar non-ag tracts that are continuous can be grouped together. For example, a single tract letter can be used to record groups of houses or apartments in residential areas. Parcels of woods and idle open land should not automatically be considered non-agricultural, and the lack of ag activity should be verified with the landowner. Just because there is no ag activity currently doesn't necessarily mean there won't be any in the next year. Here is an example of a segment that has changed from when it was last surveyed. There has been several changes in operators since Ned Flanders and Barney Gumble are still operating in the segment. Their tract letters will be unchanged. The enumerator will start lettering tracts with the next unused tract letter, which is tract B in this case. The most important point is that all tracts have a unique sequential tract letter, and any new tracts are labeled with the next unused letter. One final point in this example. Notice that despite Luke Skywalker appearing twice, the tracts are assigned different tract letters. This is because he is operating as an individual in tract G and operating in a partnership on tract H. Each tract letter should be unique to both a tract operator and an operating arrangement. Here are a few final reminders when dealing with aerial photos. Tracts should be outlined and lettered using blue photo pens. Red photo pens would be for drawing off and numbering fields. Remember, we are no longer concerned with field level data, and enumerators are encouraged to not take the time to draw off fields unless it is absolutely necessary. Please make sure you review all questionnaires, aerial photos, and your CAPI listings to make sure the identifying information for each tract within a segment is consistent. Every ag tract should have a separate tract letter and a completed questionnaire. Every non-ag and IGA tract should have its own tract letter as well. Review your work to make sure tract questionnaires in the segment match the tract letters on the aerial photo. Complete the summary on the back of the screening form and be certain that all tracts are properly accounted for. Thank you for your time and attention as we reviewed several of the maps and photos you'll be working with during the June area survey. I wish you excellent luck in your interviews, and I know that together we will have another successful June area survey.